This is Numbers with Nicole with 2 more examples for you to try, applying the sine and cosine of complementary angles in a right triangle. So 2 acute angles of a right triangle have degree measures of x and y. If the sine of x is 5/13, what is the cosine of y? So knowing that x plus y will equal 90 degrees, we should be able to answer this question without any work based on what we've learned in our lesson. However, if you don't remember what we learned in the lesson, here is a way to do this problem anyway. So I'm going to draw my right triangle. It's a rough sketch. All right, we know that the acute angles are the angles whose measure is less than 90, so I'm going to put x and y in those places. So we have the sine of x, and we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So if x is the reference angle, the opposite will be 5, and the hypotenuse will be 13. So I'm annotating my diagram by knowing that O over H is going to be 5/13 for angle X. So now I'm going to look at Y, the cosine of Y. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and now we're going to use the reference angle Y. Well, the adjacent side we know is going to become 5, and the hypotenuse is not going to change. So again, using our rule, we didn't have to actually write any of this down. Because they asked for y in cosine and x with sine, we know that these ratios will be equal. So the cosine of y equals 5/13. So again, you can remember the rule for most of these questions. You don't really need it though for these. So let's look at another one. So right triangle ABC with a right angle C below. If sine of A increases, does cosine of B increase or decrease? So again, pause the video if you want to try this one on your own. So we don't actually need any numbers. We don't need to actually do anything. We have sine of A and cosine of B, and we know that sine of A equals cosine of B when angle A plus angle B equals 90, which is what we have here. So if sine of A increases, cos of B will also increase. Now, what if I didn't remember that relationship and this was some kind of question that I saw on a quiz or a test? So you have some options. You can deal with this without numbers. You can make up some side measures. It's really up to you. I would probably do it without. So sine is so sine of angle A will be the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now in terms of angle A as being my reference angle, the opposite is BC, and the hypotenuse, which doesn't change regardless of the reference angle, would be AB. Okay, so I have that one. So now let's look at cosine. Okay, cosine of angle B. So now I'm going to use angle B as my reference angle. Cosine is ka, meaning we're going to compare the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So cosine of B, we know the hypotenuse side is not going to change. That's still AB. And now if I look adjacent to B, that is BC as well. So since sine of A is BC over AB and cosine of B is BC over AB, these two trigonometric functions compare the same ratios, the same sides. So if one increases, the other will also increase.